I think the key word here is persistence. I think one has to not give in to various attempts. Of course, that governments would feel much happier and would be much more satisfied if journalists were not asking for these documents, not asking questions. And that's precisely why I think we all need to build up pressure and, if you will, bombard them with various requests for public information so that we can also educate, if you will, public institutions in that manner that they have to provide answers. There are cases where they do, and there are cases where they are reluctant to learn, which I think changes fast once they start doing it, and then they learn on their mistakes. So they learn once or twice, they do a wrong request, or they ask the wrong question, and then based on that, they learn and they know how to do it the next time. And I think that everyone that has actually started filing requests for public information has gotten hooked to the practice pretty soon. We did one story recently which was just trying to confirm something, an urban myth, if you will, one of those things that everybody talks about, but it's never kind of fully checked. And we started with the idea that state institutions are performing less controls at times of elections. So we looked at documenting the work of various inspectorates, but also the traffic police in throughout the year, but also ahead of, I think, 6 election cycles. And what it showed was that some of the inspectorates were, in fact, issuing much less fines in the period just before the elections. And in the case of the traffic police, the example was much more dramatic, because it showed that if monthly police were issuing between 5,000 and 6,000 tickets, they issued in those months before elections, let's say 2,000 or 1,000 and so on. Unfortunately, journalists in Macedonia are not taking as much advantage of the tool requesting public documents through the right to access public information. And that is for several reasons. One, because we have traditionally, especially in the past several years, rather closed media, that are rather closed institutions that are not transparent. And as a result, the journalists are starting from the premise that they will not get the wanted information, whether they requested it or not. However, that is not the right approach, because the more we ask for information, the more we build the pressure for transparent institutions, and at the end of the day, the result is institutions do get more responsive. That, unfortunately, is still not the case in Macedonia, unlike in some other countries in the region, like Serbia, for instance, where journalists are much more taking advantage of the tool access to information. And that is also the case in other countries in the region. Macedonia is kind of on the bottom of the list at the moment. Hopefully we will see that change. The best practices so far are in Serbia, where institutions are, I would say, most responsive, where you have a commissioner who is really seen as an ally to the journalists, helping journalists exercise their rights, even at in situations when the institutions are declining to provide certain information. In Serbia, public authority needs to answer to a request for 15 days. Well, in Macedonia, that period is 30 days, and they might ask for additional 10. But I think that the Serbian institutions are much more much faster in that. I think they have more experience, and I think they're answering to more requests, and I think probably they have personnel at institutions that is well prepared on these issues. Unlike in Macedonia, where, for instance, you also have delays or breaking of the deadlines of the complaints commission as well.